Alright, so posted that teaser vid of my GHK G17 Gen 3 CO2, and now I'm gonna do the full in-depth sort of review and just what I've done and all that. So here it is. This is my Safariland 6354DO. I don't know why. I've had other RMR airsoft Glocks as well as real Glocks with RMRs. I put this in this holster and everything was fine with the RMR. For some reason, when I had the RMR cut done to this slide, it seems to be pretty much where an RMR cut is. As far back into the rear sight area as I could get it, and it still was too far forward to lock in. So I had to sort of cut some material away, but I don't know why. Fits in my friend's, I think he has a 6309 holster or something. I forgot, or 63. I forgot which number it is, but his Safariland holster, his RMR GHK fits, and so does mine. I had an RMR G34 fit in here just fine, and the RMR cuts are pretty much in the same spot in the rear. So I don't know, that was a little weird, but whatever. There was a few cuts with the Dremel. Doesn't look that pretty, but still protected. Onto the Glock. Here it is, GHK G17. This one's mine. The first video I have about a GHK G17 is my friend's, but this one's mine. So I got, let's go over external. I have a fake Surefire X300 just for now. I'm trying to get an X300V so I can have the IR light. Nothing really done to the grip or anything. No stippling. I didn't do any lighting cuts. I didn't do any of that. It's pretty much all external on the frame. I mean, all stock on the frame. The slide is where it gets interesting. So here, let me drop the mag. The slide, let's see if I can get it off one-handed. There we go. There we go. So the frame, I really didn't do anything to that. The slide is where all the magic happened. So internally, it has a CO2 kit installed. Like I said in the other video, the CO2 kit comes with a new hop-up, an inner barrel setup. It comes with a new nozzle, and it comes with a new recoil guide spring and guide rod, as well as the recoil block. I totally am blanking on what this is actually called. It's the pretty much where the chamber, or in this case the hop-up, sits up against and takes a lot of the recoil. So that it replaces that. So pretty much a lot of the parts that are affected by the CO2 higher pressure are all swapped out. The hop-up, I believe, was just swapped out too because of just how violent the action is. They want to beef up the hop-up. I think the stock hop-up is an aluminum casting, and I feel like this one is steel. It's a lot heavier than the green gas hop-up unit. So it just adds more weight to the slide, or to the top of the gun. On here, I first installed Ameriglow 506 Glock suppressor sights. They were a little too tall for my liking. I was getting a total co-witness of the dot. Let me turn it a little brighter. Okay, just because of the focus range right now is all stupid, but I was getting a total co-witness where the dot and the front sight and the rear sight were all lined up as one, which, if that's your style, that's your style. For me, I want lower 1/3. That way the sights are out of the way and I have a little better field of view within the sight picture. Less sights, like less iron sights in the sight. So these are GL429s that work perfectly with the cut I have. If you want a little bit more protrusion but less than total co-witness, you can. There's a middle one between the 506 and 429, which I almost got, but luckily my friend had the 429s, and I had the 506. He wanted the higher sights and I wanted the lower, so we swapped and it worked out. So that's that. For the front sight, drops right in, no issue with that. Just like any pretty much airsoft real steel Glock, it just dropped right in. The rear sight, since I'm using a real, well, one, unlike most airsoft Glocks, there's no blowback housing. With no blowback housing, there's no blowback housing screw that needs to secure the blowback housing into the slide. So there's no screw in the rear of the slide. It is literally just like a real Glock, a straight dovetail, but it's a little more oversized, actually a lot more oversized than a real Gen 3 or Glock rear dovetail, because I don't know why. They just made it oversized. And so you either have to shim underneath, which can be a pain in the ass, and since there's no screw hole, you can't come in from the bottom and screw in an airsoft sight. So I just took the real sight, drilled and tapped for an M4 grub screw, and that is what's keeping it nice in there. You can actually kind of see it through here. The sight, the dovetail is so over machined, but yeah, there you can see daylight through it. You can see the set screw kind of just securing everything. So that's all in there. The RMR cut is about 2 millimeters deep. There are no front lugs. I just told the guy, just do straight. It's not a real Glock. There's a lot of recoil, but I don't think there's enough recoil where the zero is gonna shift that much, especially for ranges at airsoft. Like, you don't need precision like that, especially when the BB wants to fly wherever it wants to fly sometimes because of the wind. So whole zero, I like it to keep as close as I can to zero, but do I need those lugs in there for the front of the RMR? No. You could definitely keep them, the lugs, if you want your machinist to have the lugs put into the schematic. It's pretty easy to do, but in my case, I didn't need them. And it's cheaper just to have the guy, or in my case it was just cheaper, the guy just milled everything flat and drilled the 2 holes and thread them. So I just went with that. You could also, which I might do, I was thinking about it the other day, was if I really do want those front lugs, I just send it back to machine shop. You can drill down and put just little either roll pins or something into the holes for where the lugs should be. So that's a way you can put lugs if you want, but I didn't get lugs. Anyway, this is a RMO6 or RM06 Type 2 3.25 MOA red dot. I know with the dot right now because it's cameras, and cameras don't like to capture a lot of good stuff. But that is a 3.25 dot. It's just everything's so focused right now close. It looks like a 6 MOA dot. So God only knows how big a 6 MOA dot would look right now. But I just went with 3.25 MOA dot just because the 6.5 is nice. Just, I personally would just have that on like a 45 or above a LPVO or high power scope. Like, I would just have a 6 MOA dot for like just close quarters. But for pistol, you know, you already got these backup irons in that sight picture. Why do you need a bigger dot as well? But smaller dot, aim small, miss small sort of kind of deal. My mindset. Personally, I just like it. 6.5 is nice, but just I'm going with 3.25 just because aim small, miss small. So that's that. Yeah, pretty much everything's stock. The only other thing I did was I kept having a nozzle breaking issue. Let me get this out of here. The loading arm on my nozzles would keep breaking. I determined it's because, one, the loading arm is kind of long and unsupported towards the tip just to get underneath the bucking lips. So you can't just fill in that gap and support it that way. It has to be left open. But what happens is I had one mag, which I just found out today which one it is because it happened again. It's number 2. This is number 4. This one worked fine so far. The BBs would get sort of stuck in here when ride smoothly, so when they come up to feed and come up into the feed sort of funneling section of the mag, they would not go all the way up to the tip of the feed lips. They would be a little bit lower. So when the loading arm is coming back, instead of getting a nice full back of the BB to push up into the chamber, it's actually catching the top sort of half and causing the feed lip to want to come up, being pushed up like a ramp. And that, with how small and thin it is and being unsupported, would just snap it. And no loading arm, you can't load any BBs, and you can't really, you could dry fire, but you can't shoot any BBs. So what I did, I have it posted on the GHK Facebook group. I have some photos if you want to see, but basically it's kind of dirty so you can't see it, but I drilled with a 1/16 inch drill bit about 5/8. So you see, I'll just point to it, to about here where you see that like white, it's not a bulge, it's just literally, it got so thin through the plastic, the drill bit almost came out through there, but I drilled all the way to here. So that's about 5/8 of an inch with a 1/16 inch drill bit. I then took the drill bit and I cut it at the same length. I personally, instead of using the flat shank that goes into the drill, I wanted to keep the actual flutes of the drill bit so that way there was able to have glue in those flutes also adhering, so it's a little harder for it to come out, and it just helps fill the voids. So I just put super glue, glued the drill bit in, put a little glue at the top, let it dry, and then I just filed the tip of the loading arm nice and square and flat. And so far it has held up. Even with the problem mag, what I noticed was now the gun would jam. The slide would go forward, the loading arm would hit the BB that's not up enough to be loaded, but hit the BB and just stop, which is a lot better than it trying to go, break, and then almost go into battery. No, it was literally would just stop. It would not break, not bend. So I'm very happy with this modification I did. I recommend it. I'd say if you have one, even if you're not having nozzle issues and you still have the original nozzle, if you're comfortable, I'd say do this mod. Doesn't hurt, doesn't affect performance. All it does is just strengthen it. And I've had no issues with it so far. I've put maybe 4 or 5 mags in the past 2 days through this, just around my room, and no issues. So I'm very happy. This was one of the issues I've had pretty much out of the box with this, was that the nozzle would break. Is it GHK's fault? Is it the nozzle's fault? Is it the mag's fault? Is it my fault? I think there's a little bit of blame to go around everywhere, but I'm not going to knock GHK. I still love their products. I know they've been having a slow decline with the QC, but I still think they make amazing stuff. Out the box, there might be issues here and there with some other people's. I've had during COVID and after, well, are we after COVID? I don't think so, but whatever. During COVID and up till now, I've had 3 GHK guns, personally. The GHK G17, obviously. I've had GHK AKS-74U, and I've had a GHK M4. Were there little hiccups here and there? This one, I could say, yes, the nozzle was a big hiccup. With my M4, I didn't really have any issues. There's a little fine tuning I did here and there, but nothing big, nothing really broke, nothing was like making the gun not work properly or efficiently. It was just like little fine tuning here and there. The AK, to be honest, right out of the box, I was modifying it, so I can't really tell you how good stock it was, but how it was, I loved it. But do I recommend it still? Yes. If you're really that worried about the QC, there's VFC. But yeah, anyway, this is not about GHK and other companies. It's about the Glock, and I'm bad with tangents, so here we are. So yeah, this is pretty much it. The only thing I think I'm going to be getting next for it is I need to get a sealing plate that goes between the RMR and the slide, just to help it seal. As you see, you can see some of the O-ring there. Just that, and because of the RMR cut, there is a breakthrough into the area. It's pretty much a mirror image of where this nozzle sits in. Little rectangular little notches. It's just on the flip side, which is right underneath the battery. So the only thing I'm worried about is just, you know, oil and stuff getting up into the RMR. Right now I just have a piece of Scotch tape up in there to seal it. Nothing really rubs up against it. It's just a relief cut, I guess, but I just have it so oil doesn't get up into the RMR. But I'll be getting a sealing plate, so that should only raise it about 0.0 of an inch, so the co-witness should still be fine. But yeah, that is it. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment below or hit me up on the Facebook GHK chat, or not chat, Facebook page. I have some more pictures and videos up there of it, but I have to say this is one of the best purchases I've done. I've got to say, I love it. Is it gonna perform like a custom built, a heavily modified airsoft TM Glock or WE Glock or VFC Glock? No, it's, you know, meant for realism, so it's going to be heavy, not as consistent. The hop up is, well, there's no real upgrades yet. There's a maple leaf one, but that one's pretty new. But what I can tell you is that what this Glock has that none of the others do, just the feel, the recoil, just the general manipulation. You don't have a hammer to worry about. You don't have any sticky spots when you rack the slide slowly, because there's no hammer. The only other thing you have here is just the reset of the trigger and the firing pin. That's all you have. That's all you can feel when racking this. Everything else is just straight spring, and it just feels great. So I consider this pretty good training tool for real steel, just because you actually have to work on your grip. You have to make sure your grip is solid and everything, or else that gun will jump around. I can easily one-handed shoot an airsoft, my like G34 that I had with an RMR. I could easily shoot that one-handed really flat, and the dot is jumping around just a little bit. This thing, one-handed, trying to grip it real tight, and that dot. So yeah, I say I recommend it. If you're looking for a great performing gun to take to CQB or just get nice long shots outdoors, this ain't it, Chief. If you want something to just, I guess, train with, or just have something that's just super realistic, that feels great, and just is an experience just to shoot, then this is definitely it. That's always been me in airsoft. As you can see on my channel, I have lots of GBBRs and stuff. Are they the best? No. Have I had ones that have shot really good and better than AEGs and some HPA guns? Oh yeah, I have. Generally though, these are not meant to be top performing guns. These are just meant to have an experience closer to real steel than just running around with something that looks like real steel. So in terms of gas blowback pistols, there's lots of options, especially for Glocks. Lots of options that are also, one, way cheaper, way easier to get, find parts for, and probably perform better with some small modifications, or even out the box they might perform better. But none of them are going to kick and feel like this in the hand, I'll promise you that. I've had some steel slide kits for like WE and TM Glocks that I've installed. They do add weight, they do feel a little nicer than a plastic or aluminum slide, but they do not feel anything close to how this feels. The amount of steel that are in these slides compared to other airsoft steel slides, there's no competition in that area. So yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to comment. Try to do some more videos soon about this, and I am trying to get a night vision recorder so I can hook it up to my PVS 14 and show some night game footage.